All right, hello. This is officially episode 1, and I want to go into the brain injuries as an introduction. What are they? If you are like me, I had never heard of them. I woke up and eventually I learned I had a brain injury, and I thought, well, what's a brain injury? What's that? So I had a traumatic brain injury from mountain biking, which was a new hobby I just picked up. And there are two types of brain injuries. There's traumatic brain injury from trauma, and acquired brain injury, which is from just like a lack of oxygen to the brain due to stroke or being underwater or can't breathe for some reason. Um, so I suffered a traumatic brain injury. It was because I had a fall on my mountain bike. I don't remember that day. I don't remember the day at all, really, I'm told. I never will. But I was fortunate because I had stopped and I saw like 3 or 4 girls taking a picture, trying to do the selfie and get everybody in the picture, all of them. So I stopped and I took their picture for them, and they were very grateful. And I kept mountain biking, and they kept hiking. And about 5 minutes later, they found me. I was laying in the dirt. I was unconscious at the bottom of a hill. So I must have lost control and hit my head on a rock because I was wearing a helmet, a bike helmet, and it was dented. So I must have hit a pretty good rock at a pretty good speed. I was going downhill, probably feeling good and feeling invincible. And it was fun, and I spilled out somehow and hit the rock. I still had the helmet with the dent in it, and if I was not wearing the helmet, I would for sure be dead. My skull would have been cracked open if the helmet was dented that badly. And when I woke up, the doctors tried to explain it a little bit to me, and because I fell, they said, well, imagine you have jello in a bowl and then shake it. The jello is my brain inside my skull a little bit. So it didn't, of course, go anywhere because it's inside a case, my skull. But when you shake it, it might develop some cracks in it. And that's what happened to my brain. It developed cracks and some minor damage. But, like, for example, if you're in the brain and the memory, the desire, the desire to retrieve the memory starts here. And the memory itself is over here. And it's a straight path inside the skull, inside the brain. The desire starts here, goes here, retrieves it, comes back to where it started from. And there's now a crack in the brain. So the memory, or the want, starts here, gets to the crack, and has nowhere else to go. So it goes back to where it started from. And with practice and trying, it might get to the crack and try and figure out another way to get to that memory to retrieve it. So it'll figure out to go around the crack, retrieve it, and go back around again and back to where it started from. It's interesting because when I woke up, I did not know who I was. I didn't know who anybody was. I I have two kids. I did not know who they were. I have a wife. I did not know who she was. When I first woke up, it took a lot of. My wife did a great job. Her name is Heather, and she really impressed the nurses because she put up pictures all around my hospital room, and it was just covered in pictures. Every inch of wall had a picture of me and her, of me and the kids, of us all together, say camping or something like that. So it was interesting looking around the room because I didn't know exactly what the picture was, but sitting and staring at every picture around me was my day, sometimes hours. And a picture wouldn't tell me a whole story. It would give me an A to a B. So one picture would be A to B, but no B to C. But looking at a different picture, it wouldn't have an A, but it would have a B to C, and that's it in that one. No C to D. But looking another one might have A to B and B to C, and maybe a C to D or D to E. It was just like a jigsaw puzzle of my memories and my mind. So looking all around the room, staring at all the pictures was great therapy for me, for my brain, to help me remember everything. And nurses loved it. They were really impressed with her and what she was doing to help me try and remember myself and everything. And I knew, looking at the pictures, I knew they were important to me. Heather, my wife, and my two kids, Chloe and Logan, a boy and a girl, I knew they were super important to me somehow. I didn't know how at the time. And it took more of looking around at pictures, of remembering, and it finally started to click. The memories started to come back slightly, but if it was a memory of, say, us camping, and I knew they were important to me, so it was a matter of putting pieces together, A plus B, B plus C. They were my kids, and Heather was my wife, and I was super happy. I felt how important they were to me, my two kids, Chloe and Logan, and I did my best. I tried to remember their births, when they were babies, when they were small little adolescents running around. And I remembered. I started to remember more and more. I still, to this day, don't remember everything, of course. I may never. But I am super happy that I could remember them. They are the most important things in my life, Chloe and Logan. And when they were small, and to this day, I live for them. And I'm very grateful that I was able to come back from the brink of death to still be here today, to be with them, and to experience things with them. So I am lucky, because traumatic brain injuries, TBIs for short, are often very deadly often fatal for a lot of people. And a lot of people don't recover as well as I did and am. And I remember still when I woke up in the hospitals and nursing homes. I was in like 3 or 4 different ones. But I remember there were some people in there with brain injuries who just screamed nonstop. Like that's all they did. One person came in with a brain injury because I think he was shot in the head, if I remember right. But he started to look up to me because we kind of went through very similar things. We both had brain injuries, bad, traumatic, and I was getting better. So he really looked up to me and kind of latched on to me. And I have to say, I was lucky. I didn't really believe in luck. I believed in karma, which is kind of similar, I guess. But I have to say, I got lucky. Lucky that those girls, I met them, they found me, and also, I should mention also, that we were in the mountains, they found me, and normally they don't get cell signal in the mountains, but they all tried and one of them did. One got out to 911 and was talking to the 911 operator, trying to tell her where we were, and while she was talking to the person, 911 operator, a doctor came along the trail, hiking, saw what was going on and ran over and started to care for me also. And she was on the phone with 911 and he was listening, and the 911 operator was telling her to do CPR on me, which didn't make sense because I was breathing. I was hurt badly, unconscious, but breathing. And she said, well, I don't think I should because he's breathing. And the operator said, that's what it says to do. Do it. And the doctor there said no. And took the phone from her and said, this is Dr. So-and-so. He is under my care. And he's not getting CPR. He's breathing just fine. And the helicopters came shortly after. There were a couple sent out to try and find us because, in the mountains, didn't really know exactly where we were. But the first one got there, found us, and loaded me onto the helicopter, and helicoptered me to the hospital. So I got lucky with them finding me. I got lucky with the doctor coming along the trail just by happenstance. I got lucky with the helicopter finding me ASAP. And I got lucky at the hospital I went to, St. Charles was called, and they were a hospital that was specializing in brain injuries, believe that or not. So they got me there, and they had 2 wards. They had a traumatic brain injury ward and an acquired brain injury ward. So they took me to the traumatic brain injury ward, and it was a teaching hospital. So my wife got there ASAP and was super impressed by how the doctor would come all the time with students and ask them questions, and they'd ask doctor questions and teaching, and then he would send them away and have time with her alone to answer any questions she might have and what to expect from me, potentially. It was really great. I was really lucky to go there. So, next episode I will talk about my time in the hospital, and eventually waking up. So, thank you again. Any questions? Feel free, please. If you are going through a recovery or know somebody who suffered one also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you, and see you next episode.